Hey, Central Middle School, how we doing? Hope you had a good weekend. Back for another edition of Newman Talks. Today we're going to be going on another virtual field trip, but before we do, there's some jokes and some interesting facts I'd like to go over with you. The first one is our funny joke of the day. We have from Addie N on the blue team. Her joke is, what happens when a rooster lays an egg on a steep roof? Nothing. Roosters don't lay eggs. Ba-doom. Right? Another one, I was cooking over the weekend, and I was telling my wife that I need some peace and quiet in the kitchen as I cook. So she went over to the smoke alarm and took out the batteries. I know you'd like that one. So moving on to our interesting fact of the day. Today in history, in 1971, Minnesota became one of the first states to ratify the 26th Amendment, which gave all adults the right to vote who are over 18. So now that gives us those voting rights once you turn 18, which is essentially you are becoming an adult. I know we talked about that during family life as when you are technically an adult. And one of our rights as citizens is to be able to go vote. So looking back on where we've been this week on our field trips, our first stop was at St. Peter, Minnesota at the Treaty of Traverse des Sioux site. This is where the Sioux or the Dakota signed the treaties with the Minnesota government to give the land to the U.S. government, which then allowed settlers to move on to the land. Then we went up to north of Duluth to Split Rock Lighthouse, where the lighthouse would help ships navigate the Lake Superior as they were going to and from Duluth. Our last trip was at Fort Snelling at the Bedote. So the Bedote is that sacred area where the Dakota originated and where Zebulon Pike built the fort where the Minnesota and Mississippi rivers converge, or at the confluence of those rivers. Today, our next stop is to one of my favorite places, mostly because it is in Minneapolis. I love going downtown Minneapolis and seeing the sights. A lot of it, the reason because I grew up in the country and I didn't have that experience as I was growing up. So this city, Minneapolis, has the Mill City Museum, which we studied during the Flour, Lumber, Iron chapter. It is one of my favorite places to go. There's beautiful sights of the city when you go up into the museum. There's the elevator that brings you up. You get to see wonderful sights of Mississippi River, St. Anthony Falls. Then down the river, there's also the Guthrie Theater where they have wonderful performances, and then also by U.S. Bank Stadium. So if you're wondering, as far as a map, as we look at the map, this virtual field trip takes us to Minneapolis, and right downtown, if we go to the satellite view, you will see the Stone Arch Bridge as well, which is one of the first bridges built in Minneapolis during that time to help with transportation of the flour out east to cities like Chicago and Detroit and New York City to make money for those millers. So enjoy your field trip today. Please share your thoughts on the Google form when you're finished, and I hope to see you all soon. Stay healthy and do at least 3 acts of kindness. Maybe it's take the dog for a walk. Maybe it's give your parents a hug. Maybe it's just be nice to your siblings. Yeah, that is possible. Just hang in there. We all miss you at Central, and I look forward to seeing you as soon as possible or at our next episode of Newman Talks.